Right, so today we're going to be taking a look at population growth rates in this activity. You might be absent from class today, so this is why you might be watching the video. Even though that's the case, the data is going to be given to you, but you need to read the introduction and the procedure to understand what the data table is, what it means. So in the introduction, it says that the biotic potential of a population, or the largest number of organisms that can be produced, is held in check by some type of environmental resistance, or we call that limiting factors. And these limiting factors could be like food, water, shelter, could be mates, okay? And in most cases, these populations tend to level off at a certain size, which is known as the carrying capacity. So we're going to start off with these organisms, and let's pretend these organisms are asexual. And we're going to, we're going to start off with a population size of 6, okay? And we're going to place them into this environment. And if you see, there's different locations or quadrants within the environment, okay? There's going to be dice that the students have, and the dice tells them where these organisms are going to be placed. So the white die will tell us what column it's in, and then the colored die tells us what row it's going to be in. So in this case, 1 and 6, so the first organism is in column 1, row 6. And I'm just going to go ahead and place the organisms, okay, into those different quadrants. Alright, so we have this data table, and at the start of it we have 6 organisms, and let's pretend these organisms, each one of these parents can go ahead and reproduce. So if there are 6 parents, let's say there are going to be 6 additional organisms, like offspring, that are going to be there, and altogether, okay, we're going to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Altogether, we're going to have 12 organisms, okay? Parents plus offspring. And I gotta get these offspring into the environment. So I'm just going to be rolling the die to see where they're at. All right. So now we have, if you count it up, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 organisms that are there, and we are done with the first generation. So we're going to go ahead and go to the second generation, where there are 12 organisms that are there. Let's say in that next generation, each one of these parents has offspring. Let's say they reproduce asexually. So I have to go ahead and have 12 more organisms. So we have those 12 organisms there again. Okay, I'm going to be putting them into their quadrants. So in this case, okay, we have some organisms that are in the same quadrant. Now, we have to go ahead and get rid of them because there's, let's say, in that little space that's there, they don't have enough. There's some limiting factors that are acting against them, and they do not have enough resources. So anyone that has more than one organism in that quadrant has to go. So they're going to not survive. So we lost 2, 4, 6, 8 organisms because of environmental resistance, or we call that limiting factors. Okay, so we got a -8. Okay, so out of the 12 plus 12 offspring and parents, we had 24, but 8 of them were not able to survive. So we have 16. Let's see. 16 that were able to survive. So we should have 16 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And that will be the start of our next generation. Okay, so so then I would have to have 16 more other organisms or offspring. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and continue on with the other generations. So that's what these numbers mean. Okay, you have 16 parents, so each one of them has offspring, and then any of these numbers that are here died because they were in the same quadrant, because there was limiting factors that were acting on against them. All right, once you're done with that, you're going to be creating a line graph. One line will represent the population size for each generation, and you're going to take a look at this column that's right here. Okay, and another line is going to represent the biotic potential of the population. Let's pretend if no organisms ever died due to environmental resistances or those limiting factors for the first 5 generations only. So in other words, let's pretend that there was no deaths here. Okay, that there was no such thing as limiting factors. What would the populations actually be? So in the first generation, there would have been 6. In the second generation, because they reproduce, okay, there would have been 12. Those 12 reproduce, and they have 12 offspring, so it should have been 24 altogether organisms that will go on to the third generation. And if we had those 24 organisms and they had 24 offspring, okay, that'll tell you how many organisms are in the next generation and so on. So one line is supposed to, like I said, represent the actual data that you have of the start of generation, the population that's there, and then the other line graph is going to tell us what would it have been if there was no such thing as limiting factors and there was no organisms that died. And remember, it's only for the first 5 generations. So with that, you need to make sure you have a key for each line graph. You need a title, and you need titles or labels for your X and Y axis. Make sure you use a ruler, and then after that, you need to make sure you answer the analysis questions that are there.